Hello there, Beck here. I'm going to be doing a bit of a different style of video today. Instead of just having music over the footage of the DXUN Nightmare second boss, I'm actually going to talk over it to explain some of the things I'm doing and why I've performed certain actions. This is a kind of helpful for anyone wanting to tackle this boss. So here we go.
Okay.
That's the preferable one.
So we're about to pull the door here. Okay, so here I'm full speeding through to make sure I'm well past the ads.
not doing it.
I'm not having to worry about that while we deal with them.
Droid, we will
I'm
have one DPS
precasting
less.
on any DPS I feel are going to take a lot of damage, usually because they take a lot of aggro or because
it's also
they
like kind of leaning towards a tank doing it, but Toda doesn't.
or because they
so.
are standing in red, which
And
reduces their defense by 100%.
And I don't want to do quick and
Okay, so we're waiting for the first pursuit droid to spawn here. I'm pre-casting on the person who's got it normally, or on the tanks as well. I'm pre-bubbling global cooldown, our tank, who's going to take the droid when it spawns. Then I'm performing an AoE heal here, just to keep everybody's health up nice and easily. Not too much to do here, just kind of going along, and it should be fine.
Yeah.
As long as it's only one at the end there. Like, if it's two, it might be a more problem, but one should be fine.
stunning as well.
When we reach the second bull, once again, I'm pre-bubbling and pre-hotting up the tanks, and then keeping my eye on who's standing in red, who's got aggro from various things, avoiding the red myself as much as possible, of course. And just waiting for the next section. During this phase, the tank is gathering the ads next to the person who's got the droid. So I'm watching for that to happen, and I'm healing up the tank who's got the ads at the moment. I know when the droid spawns, the other tank is going to be taking the droid, so I'm ready to heal him as soon as possible.
Excuse me.
Stunned.
So we're at the second bull now, just dealing with him. Again, it's pretty standard of AoE healing, keeping everybody up.
Excuse me.
When I gain the time to do right, I place my phase walk there so I can easily get back to the group, but I go over here to pick up my flares to deal with the Reavers that are past the door in a while. You can see here I've given myself the reverse corruptions debuff while I'm picking up the flares, which increases my force regeneration rate, because effectively I'm not doing anything while I'm picking up those flares, and so I may as well be regenerating as much force as possible in order to use it in the next piece and save myself more force. So I usually pop myself a reverse corruptions using Consuming Darkness right before I pick up the flares.
1 second between the explosion.
Before phase walking back to the group, obviously, and then dealing with the healing. We're dealing with the droid on the corner here, just healing the group, keeping everybody up. Pretty standard stuff. The exact timing of the flares, by the way, of picking up those flares, can depend on the group. Sometimes I do it earlier, sometimes I do it later. I always do it at a time where the group is usually at full health and is more than able to be kept up by my co-healer, and it's dependent. So the exact timing on that is not precise. As long as you've got them before you go through the door, you're basically fine. Okay, so the second droid has spawned. The person with the droid has moved away. I've been aware of them in case they take any damage. They shouldn't, because our tank is guarding them and using Friend of the Force, so it shouldn't be happening, but I keep my eye out on it anyway, just to make sure. Healing the group, making sure the tank who's got the droid is kept up. Okay, so we're about to go through the door. One thing to note here as well, actually, is I've got my first slot of my temporary quickbar keybinded to a convenient keybind, which for me is H, and so I'm pre-casting it here, ready, so I can place the flare down as soon as possible once we're past the door. And somewhere roughly in the middle. The exact positioning it doesn't need to be perfect, but somewhere roughly in the middle, so that they can take the Reavers into it and not take insane amounts of damage from the Reavers. Now, how the flares work. Okay, so the flares work like this. They refresh a 2-second debuff on all of the ads every tick, basically, so that at the end of the cooldown of the flares is the same as the length the flares run. So, and the cast of the flares is 1 second. So you've effectively got the 2-second refresh window from the buff to pop the new flare down while the old flare is visually
Well,
gone.
that's proper
So
rotation
that's
command.
why I've got a timer going. You can hear Styrak's voice in the background to tell me when the next flare is available. So I've got it counting down, and then that's when the flare's done. Obviously I can see that on my cooldown bar anyway if I'm using my eyes, but I like having the timer just to make sure I'm aware of it in case I've forgotten or anything like that. So we just kill the Reavers, use up all the flares. I've told my tank I've out of flares. You can do it with 2 flares, by the way, bear that in mind. If the DPS is high, you can do it in 2 flares. We use 3, but it's not essential. It depends on your DPS numbers.
Don't cover.
Again, here we're stacking up the ads here just to clear them out a little bit. So again, AoE healing is essential, keeping an eye on who's got aggro. You can see that Gorky's got aggro on quite a lot of ads there, so I'm healing him up a bit. Droid comes in, we try and use the droid to cleave the ads a bit, so we're taking it. That's why we've been keeping the droid with the ads, by the way, is to cleave them. So we're keeping AoE healing up, making sure the tank, I can see that the tank is double stimmed, so I don't need to worry too much about it, but I'm keeping my eyes open anyway. Oh, we got a second shot there. If that happens, AoE healing immediately, try and get everybody up as quickly as possible. It's a possibility, and sometimes I precast bubbles on people if I think it's going to happen. It depends on the DPS numbers. Ideally, you don't want that with the DPS numbers, though, honestly. Here I'm trying to pull my tank ahead a bit because he was struggling and he was got stuck on the vine, so that's all fine. He called for that and I was trying to help out. We keep going through, we're back in this area with the droids, we got the ads still on us, so we popped a flare, we're going to stand in the flare. Here you can as long as you stand in the flare, it's not essential to stand near the middle of the flare, bear that in mind. You can stand like on the edge of it and whatnot. Depends where exactly you want to stand. Partially I suppose depends on your class as well. I'm playing sorc, so you can see I'm pre-bubbling the DPS a lot here because I can see they're taking a fair amount of damage from the ads. Droid is in, so again we're going to kill that as quickly as possible, hopefully without getting a second slam.
Flare now.
Holy shit.
Do you have singletons?
Yep.
Right, AoE topping ads. Careful for red shit.
Link.
Excuse me.
I'll pop a flare now. Flare spots.
Excuse me.
Do you have AoE tons?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Wait, yeah, let's
Excuse
go. Use it.
Storm Succura is quite good here actually, by the way, the tactical that gives healing on Vault Rush. You might have seen me using that quite a few times in this fight. It's pretty good because you can provide extra DPS onto those droids to make sure they don't do the big cleaving attack, but it also heals the tank for quite a substantial proportion, so it's worth using, I think. You might even want to combine it with Endless Offensive. I don't have that yet, so I'm using Empowered Restorer during this fight, but it's, you know,
Pop a flare.
not here nor there. Resing as quickly as possible here, obviously we want those tanks as quickly as possible. You can see the droid is almost dead. We've got one of our last flares here. We're clicking the door, of course.
Alright, Gorky, go do your thing.
I'm clicking the door here so it's done as quickly as possible. There we go. And we're going through. Now, one of us, we've assigned someone, I think it was Gorky, has been assigned to go into the room. We picked him because he can stealth out if the droid shows up and he can shroud himself
I
if
have
the droid
20
shows up.
seconds left.
But generally,
I'm
you want to have one person go in and do the everybody else can stay here. The droid will likely cleave if it appears in this phase, so you've got to watch out for that, and probably some off DPS like I'm using with Vault Rush is probably a good idea when the droid will spawn shortly, because obviously one of the DPS is away dealing with the door. You can use healers or DPS tanks still, the door depends on your team, but they're basically going to deal with the inside bit, the little puzzle things in there, and we're just kind of trying to stay alive during this last phase here. Nothing too exciting. Now bear in mind the kill doesn't count until you get teleported into the room, so you would better wait for that. There we go.
That's a good job.
Wait, let's teleport, because otherwise we don't have the luck. Okay.